Welcome back to Mentor Nation, the podcast for entrepreneurs looking for real mentorship, real strategies, and real stories so that you can go out and build your dreams. I'm your host, John Abbas, and it's time for another episode, so buckle your seatbelt and let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 1 of the Mentor Nation podcast. My name is John Abbas, and I will be your host as we interview highly successful entrepreneurs from all over the world and get them to be your personal mentor for the day as they give you their best insights and best strategies in a 30 to 45 minute power-packed interview. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think of this podcast as a mentorship session, but with a little bit of a twist. And the reason I say that is because I learned something really, really powerful a few years ago. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. And, a few years ago, I was attending an entrepreneurship event, and the keynote speaker of that particular event was Tony Robbins. And I was so excited. I just couldn't wait to hear him get on stage. And I remember him getting on stage and delivering the most incredible speech I had ever heard. I was so inspired. I had so many actionable notes, all in just 1 hour. And I just remember thinking, wow. He gave his absolute best in that hour. And I remember leaning over to my girlfriend, just whispering in her ear. I asked her, I was like, I wonder how much he made to be the keynote speaker here at this event. And the guy behind me actually overheard me asking her that. And he said, $250,000. And I looked at him and I was like, what? And he's like, look, I know the host and I know that's what they paid him to be here. And I was just blown away in that moment. And I was like, no wonder he gave his best strategies. He has the biggest audience right here. He made the most money for the shortest amount of his time. And so he had to deliver massive value in just this short period of time. And ever since that event, I've attended dozens and dozens of other events with major keynote speakers such as Grant Cardone, Richard Branson, Brendan Burchard, and just so many more. And every single time I heard them, I noticed something. I noticed that out of all of the content that they put out, whether it was their books, their courses, their blogs, by far, their best content was always their keynote speeches that they gave at large events. And here's what I realized. When you only have an hour of time and you have to deliver $100,000 or more worth of value and your reputation depends on it, you are going to prepare and you are going to deliver and over-deliver every single time. And so I had this idea, what if I could create a podcast where every entrepreneur that I have on gives you their best content as if they were giving a keynote at a huge event and were paid an insane sum of money. But the only difference is that it will be in an interview style so that I can ask the questions that you want to know. And instead of having to pay to be at the event to hear them speak, you get to listen to it through a podcast and it's free forever. It's literally like you're going to be mentored by the best in the world every single week. And that just gets me so excited. And I want you all to understand, just so that you can get to know me a little better, why I started this podcast in the first place. I started this because I truly believe that having great mentors is more important to success than anything else on earth. And the reason I believe this, I grew up in a very, very, very poor family outside of Nashville. At the age of 17, I joined the Navy because I just didn't want my parents having to pay for any of my bills. They couldn't afford, they were struggling. And so I was like, you know what, let me go make my own money. And for 6 years, I was in the military. I got out, and that's when I became an entrepreneur for the first time at the age of 23. I got very lucky. I moved to New Orleans right after Hurricane Katrina, started a construction company with my 19-year-old brother, and we didn't know anything, but we made a lot of money in a very short period of time. And, unfortunately, that opportunity only lasted about a year. And I remember, as the opportunity dried up in New Orleans, I took the money that I had left. I moved to Las Vegas. Me and my best friend, we decided to open up a restaurant in Las Vegas. And I sank everything that I had into that restaurant. Every dollar that I had made, I borrowed a bunch of money. I really, really, really believed that we could make it work. And in 2007, we opened up a restaurant. And unfortunately, the recession came right after that. At the age of 27, which was 2 years later, I lost my restaurant. I got into a massive amount of debt. I remember being 27 years old, losing money and over $100,000 in debt. By that time, I had had my first daughter. I had another daughter on the way. And I just remember being so depressed. And for 2 years after that happened, I was broke. Everything that I tried, every business that I tried to start, every job that I got, it just never worked out. And I remember at the age of 29, I was almost homeless. I was scared to death because for the first time in my life, I didn't have just myself to depend on. I had to think about my kids. I had to think about a family. I had nobody that I could lean on. I was living in Las Vegas, thousands of miles away from my nearest family member. And it was the scariest point of my life. And at the age of 29, I found my first real mentor, and it changed my life in less than 1 year. Within 1 year of being at the worst situation of my entire life, I was able to turn it all around. I ended up building a business that broke 6 figures. I was able to pay off all of my debts, and it literally changed my life. And today, as I start this podcast, I want you all to know that I'm 36 years old. I own multiple businesses today. I have a large daycare center outside of Nashville. I'm the co-founder of a software company called Classroom Panda, which makes software for childcare centers all over the country. I have an e-commerce business called NemoPro.com where we make custom day planners, like weekly and day planners for the network marketing industry. And I'm in the midst of launching the biggest project of my life with 3 other co-founders, including my wonderful girlfriend, Catherine, called Mentor. And Mentor is literally right in line with this podcast, but it is a peer-to-peer learning platform, kind of like Airbnb, but for learning, where people can learn or shadow each other, or anybody can become a mentor on the platform and make money by helping and teaching others. And I'm so excited about it. I have 3 amazing children as well that I love more than anything, and we travel as a family. And I just want you to understand, I don't tell you any of this to brag, because this podcast, it's really not about me. It's about you. I tell you where I'm at because 7 years ago, a mentor came into my life and changed my life. And since that time, several mentors have come into my life and they've shaped my situation into what it is today. And this realization that mentorship is one of the biggest keys to success is what led to the inspiration to create this podcast so that people all over the world can have real mentorship every week by world-class entrepreneurs who are focused on giving you their best content in a really power-packed short interview. And so my vision is to have the most relevant podcast in the world for entrepreneurs out there today who are looking for real and useful mentorship. I hope that you will engage with me in this journey. I hope that you will give me your feedback and comments and connect with me on social media. It's going to be a fun journey, and I just can't wait to see you in episode 2. Thank you.